everyone. Good morning, almost good afternoon. No, still good morning. This is Amanda Kulang live with New Media Expo here in Las Vegas, and I'm sitting here with a wonderful, wonderful WordPress website design guy, Mitch Canter with StudioNashVegas, who has personally taught me quite a bit about this whole web design thing and should hopefully be able to teach you a few things too. How are you, Mitch?
Doing really well. How about you?
Well, I mean, I'm still sort of talking, right? I think, you know, the raspy thing today, do you all like it? I've heard it's okay. But at least I have a voice. So, but we don't need to talk about this. I mean, this is boring. Let's talk about website design, which can actually be quite fun. I love how people constantly come to web designers and say, I want something pretty. What is your response to people when they say that to you?
Well, you know, don't get me wrong. I consider myself an artist as well as a business person when it comes to that sort of thing. But I also believe that there is a fine line between making something that's pretty and making something that's going to do everything that you need it to and still look like it's part of your brand or part of your personal image. I'm not a big fan of eye candy just for the sake of eye candy. Okay. I think that everything that's on a website should have a purpose. There shouldn't be any fluff or anything on there that's going to detract from the main thing, which is your content, whether that's your videos or your blog posts or whatever that might be. Mm-hmm.
What are some typical fluffy categories that people are prone to jump into?
Well, people always want to have like the little eye candy things. They say, oh, well, let's animate this logo, which is always...
I hate animated logos.
Always a bad idea. It always tends to... just take away once again from the content that's there. Or they think that just because that they have a presence on every social network or that they blog on every single blog that they have to put a badge or a widget or whatever it is right down their sidebar. So, you know, you'll look at someone's website, they'll have about this much content, and then you'll just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and it's all like Twitter widgets and badges and you know, all that kind of stuff. And there comes a point where it starts to overwhelm people and they go, well, they're so busy with all of this other stuff. How much time are they really putting into their own website? Because they've got this much content and this much of all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. And it really just, it kind of detracts from what the overall message of the site should be. Yeah.
So if you were to give me a list of like thou shalt nots with web design, what are a few of those? Thou shalt not what?
Well, thou shalt not avoid mobile, I think, is the biggest one that we have nowadays. And the reason I say that is because most people are on a 2 to 3 to 5 year cycle when it comes to redesigning a website. Right. And there are people that do it every year, but the typical norm is, you know, every couple of years you want to refresh your presence. Mm-hmm. And that's good because technology is changing, and not only the trends and design on that portion of it, but also on the back end as well, how code is written, how things are structured. Mobile is very strong right now. I mean, there are, you know, I read a stat, I believe, somewhere that says 30% of people are looking at your website on their mobile device. Luckily, very recently, the World Wide Web Consortium, the W3C, has come out with a specification document that talks about this concept of the one web, or what a lot of us like to call responsive design. And I think that's sort of the big trend that's going on right now. And if you can jump on it, they're actually recommending that you do so. And it's the idea that you have one website, and instead of having a separate mobile portal or having a separate tablet portal or whatever, you have one website that's able to adapt itself or respond to, which is why it's responsive, whatever device that you have that you want to view it on.
One site to rule them all. I had to do it, I'm sorry.
I may or may not have done a slideshow presentation on this and used the ring from Lord of the Rings as my cover image.
This is why Mitch and I get along.
I can neither confirm nor deny, so...
You are going to be speaking today, actually. Do you want to talk a little bit about, maybe give a sneak peek about what that will be at 3 o'clock, right?
Right.
I think?
3 o'clock here at New Media Expo, and a lot of it is on responsive design, but there's a lot of other stuff that I want to talk about as well. I want to talk about, you know, choosing an appropriate theme for your blog, how to get the most out of plugins, not just that do stuff, but that also match what the design of the blog is. And you know, there's things that you have to take into consideration. Even if you're not a designer, these are things that you should look out for when you're choosing a theme or when you have a designer that's doing the theme for you. You know, basic color theory, basic typography theory, layouts, and a lot of stuff that I talked about as well, the thou shalt nots, you know, things that you absolutely should not do whenever you're doing a site in order to, you know, keep people from being turned off by either overload or just, you know, a really bad experience.
And what are some of the things to consider in terms of what you want this site to do for you? Like from a design perspective, what would you be doing? For instance, like let's just use me as an example.
Okay.
So if I have my personal branded site, which Mitch is actually going to be working on, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, he really is. What are we going to look at for me? Because there's a lot of video, for instance,
Sure.
That we'll want to include.
Well, obviously the short answer for anybody's web design experience is it's going to depend. But I want to ask you a lot of questions, and this is something we'll do. This is what I do with all of my clients. We'll ask a lot of questions and figure out what the most important thing that you want to showcase on the site is. Once we've done that, I want to walk through the process with you and wireframe everything out and see, what aspects that you really want to showcase. For you, for example, video is important, so you're going to want some sort of a reel or some sort of a clip on the front page that you can show people right away. With you, it would be probably an introduction clip. Hey, I'm Amanda.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I want to say on my website. And to the right of that, it's going to be an intro paragraph, some text, so that the search engines get a little bit of love there, and then a nice call to action, whatever that might be. So if it's buy my services or read my blog or buy my ebook or whatever that might be, that needs to be front and center because that's what you're wanting people to do. Underneath that, then we can start talking about other content. So if it's testimonials of people that you interviewed or your blog content, whatever that.
What is Mitch going to say about me?
You are the best thing since sliced bread. But it's stuff like that. So it's just a matter of it being customized to your particular experience because everybody is different. Everybody's website should reflect that as well.
I really like this. What are some of the latest things that you're finding in terms of conversion rates? Like I know not that long ago everyone was saying, oh, put a video on your homepage because no matter what, that will help convert more. What are some things like that that you've learned or noticed?
Sure. Well, I've noticed a lot that the more forms that you have is not necessarily a good thing, but they need to be something that's relevant to whatever it is that you're doing. So, with my personal website, for example, I have my hire me form on every page, but I make it very subtle. I want it to be something where people can, wherever they are on the site, get back in touch with me and say, okay, I've made up my mind. I want to take out that click that gets people from wherever they are to the contact page, and I want them to be able to fill out a quick form. It's just a few lines long and get back to me, and I can start the process with either redoing their website or whatever it is that there is. Now I do have a contact page that has other information about me, but it's more along the more of the informational side. It's not an actual call to action.
Right.
The call to action is still on there though. So if somebody really wants to get a hold of me, they feel like they have to click a contact button. They can as well. Another thing is, once again, going back to mobile, a lot of people don't have forms that are optimized for a mobile website.
Right.
And that means that instead of just pinching and zooming in and clicking on forms, these forms are actually restructured almost to where it's a really easy, simple process to fill out on a mobile phone, which is a lot harder to do than a lot of people think, because instead of typing like this, you're down 8 fingers. So you want to make sure that people don't get burnt out by trying to fill out a long form on their smartphone.
And I guess lastly, thinking of someone like yourself, if someone wants to hire a web designer, what are some of the things they should absolutely ask that person when they're trying to consider who to use?
Sure. Well, you want to make sure that they have a really good track record with clients. So if they don't have anywhere on their website that showcases old projects or some of the other things that they've done, that's a red flag. You also want to see if you can get any references from them. Find 2 or 3 people that they've done projects for. Chances are they will have those on their website already, and you can check that off. But if you want to dig a little bit deeper, or if they don't have that on their website, it's always nice to ask, hey, can you point me in the direction of some people that you've done projects for? You also want to make sure that they're asking you a lot of questions, because if they're not asking you a lot of questions, they may be trying to give you a cookie cutter website.
Right.
And that's okay for some people, but if you're really looking to stand out and you're really looking to showcase your personality and your brand, every website's going to be different. And if they're not asking you questions, then how are they going to know about your brand just like you do? Because ultimately, that's what a website is. A website is a digital spot for your personal presence. It's a home base. It's a base camp. It's a hub for everything that everybody else does online. It's your Twitter stuff links to there. Your Facebook links to there. Everything that you do should be bringing back into a central spot where you control the content, not where Facebook can change their terms of service and then delete your stuff, or where Instagram can sell your content later on. Not that that's happening now, but you want your space on the web where you can get stuff done, and that's what a website and a blog really is.
Well, I think people will learn a lot if they visit Studio Nash Vegas and check out his personal digital space on the web. So thank you so much, Mitch. Always a pleasure to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.